Hello, everyone. We're here to introduce you to the new book, Graphical Construction of Groundwater Flow Nets. It's a very well done book prepared by these two wonderful authors that we have here, and I have the pleasure to introduce to you. I have here Eileen Poeter. She's an emeritus professor from Colorado School of Mines, and Hsieh. He's a retired hydrogeologist from the USGS, US Geological Survey. Amazingly, he says, I don't believe, he says he worked for 41 years, but he might have started when he was 10 because he looks so young. I don't believe he works for so many years at the USGS. So please, guys, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Eileen Poeter, and as Everton said, I've worked at Colorado School of Mines for the last few decades, teaching basic groundwater engineering classes, and I've done a lot of consulting since then, but I'm retired now.
Not completely retired because you're working very hard for the Groundwater Project.
I do a little consulting and I work a lot on these books, but that's all volunteer work, so I count that as
very good, very good. You, Paul, welcome.
Hi, my name is Hsieh. Like Eileen, I also am retired. Before I retired, I worked as a research hydrologist with the US Geological Survey. I did a large range of work going from groundwater modeling to geothermal energy and volcanoes, and there are all sorts of interesting hydrologic problems on Earth. So I hope you will find this book interesting and groundwater being a fascinating subject.
I totally agree with you, totally agree with you. So how did you get to know each other? And how does this book came along?
Well, I had heard a lot about Paul over the years and his good work. And there'd been a few times during my teaching career when I had emailed him and asked about this wonderful FlowNet software that he had written, and he would respond and help me with that. And then as I started to write this FlowNet book, I wrote to Paul and said, so that FlowNet software you have, it doesn't work on the web anymore. Is there some way that I can make it work on the web? And he said, well, why don't we work on this together, and I'll rework the software so that it will work on the web. And he did that recently and made it so that it can work on anyone's computer. It doesn't matter whether it's a PC or a Mac. That's what I can say about how we know each other. This is the first project that we've actually worked on together.
Very good. Paul.
Yes, that's right. I think Eileen and I have corresponded for many years on different things, and I met her at conferences, and she has a wonderful software that deals with parameter estimation that a lot of people uses called UCode. So we've known each other, in a professional setting for many years, but now it's great that we can communicate more on an interpersonal basis as well.
Yes, I've enjoyed that.
That's very. I would like to make a witnessing here because I didn't know Paul before. I haven't talked to him. I know his name, of course, but I just told him that I used his software for so many years at my teaching classes. I love it's called Topo Drive and Particle Flow. They're so good, easy to use. Very nice for teaching and for people, when they're learning. You may try write down this name, Topo Drive and Particle Flow. And then I get to know the author. That was a great honor for me because I used this work for so many years. That was wonderful, just like Eileen mentioned. It was very good. So I have a question for you guys. When someone goes to a website and see a book that's called Drawing, flow nets or graphical flow nets or something like that, it's not really a sexy name, right? Because people will take a look at that. So why is it important for people to draw flow nets? And who should learn that?
I think people that want to do groundwater work, it's important for them to learn about flow nets and to learn to draw them, because it helps them develop their basic intuition about flow systems and how they work. And so this book is relatively short, has lots of diagrams to help them see how it's done. And I have to mention that it also has a link to Paul's software, which is, for me, being a nerd, I suppose, is like playing a video game where you get to build a groundwater system and you click on it and you see what the groundwater levels are and where the groundwater flow lines go. And then you can add some particles and see where the particles move through the system. So all this helps a person to develop their intuition about how groundwater flow systems work, because we can't see them. They're underground, and it's not something we get to think about much every day.
Yes, and I'd like to add that being able to see something visually is a really good way to understand something that's more abstract. And that was one of the reasons I did my software. But in a way, learning groundwater is just like learning anything else, maybe a language, where you can't just know the rules. You have to practice, just like in a language. If you only understand the grammar and you never practice the language, you'll never be fluent at it. And drawing groundwater flow nets is just like practicing speaking a language. When you do that, after a while, your intuition develops so that you can visually see the flow net even before you draw it, and that's where you want to be. And for example, in my software, I always advise people, don't just use it to find the answer. Before you push that button for the software to draw the flow net, draw it yourself, and then use the answer to check whether you drew it correctly or close. And if you didn't, why? And if you do that as a practice, then you become fluent in thinking groundwater.
Just to make sure for people who's watching our interview here, from the book, they can draw flow nets by hand, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
They don't need a software to draw. They can have the insight of the groundwater flow by drawing, using their own hands, right?
Yes. And that's the best way to start. The best way to start is to pick up a pencil and
the best way to get a good. I always say to my students, never use a software first, right? Try to see and try to draw and have the feeling yourself, because that's the best way to learn. Then you have the insight and you can check. Perfect, what you say, Paul. So can I build a flow net without knowing the differential equations? Because this is what terrifies people. Do they need to know differential equations to start drawing flow nets or not?
They don't need to know it to draw the flow net. As a matter of fact, in the process of drawing the flow net, they are actually solving the differential equations for groundwater flow, but they don't need to know anything about the math of differential equations to do that.
Yes, I think most practicing hydrologists don't really deal with differential equation as a mathematical problem. So hardly anybody today would actually try to derive the solution of the differential equation. But again, it's important to understand how the differential equation got there and means something. And if you understand the meaning, if you can translate the differential equation into words, then at least you understand what it's saying. So to me, the differential equation for groundwater flow, let's say if it's a steady state, only says two things. Mass has to be conserved, and there's Darcy's law. So if you take a little piece of the aquifer, if the flow is at steady state, that what comes into that little piece has to go out, because if it stays in there, the head will go up. So these are just concepts that can be put into English that is captured in a very condensed way by symbols written as an equation, but it really says something that we should be able to say in words. And if we do that, then we at least understand the differential equation, even though we don't need to, on paper, using pencil to derive the solution. The computer can do that for us.
It's very good. It's very good. So people can actually survive the book without knowing. Just having the concepts of groundwater flow would be enough to draw the nice diagrams as they show in the book, right? So one question that comes to mind again about you have many exercises in the book. Do people need to who need help? What if I go there and I try to solve an exercise and I don't come up with the correct answer? What do I do? Are there solutions in the book?
Yeah, yes, every exercise in the book has a solution. You get to the end of reading the problem, you try to do the problem yourself, and then you can click right there onto within the book, and it will take you to another part of the book where the solution is written out.
Very good, very good.
And I would say that there are probably not enough exercises in the book. After you do all the exercises, you should create some more exercises for yourself. And that's how we become skilled at what we do.
Exactly, exactly. So actually, any conceptual model needs a flow net, right? A graphical flow net for us to have a better understanding. That's the way to go. You agree with that?
Oh yes, the first thing you do when you're working on a groundwater problem, hopefully, is you get to go to the field site, look at the terrain, and visualize where the water is coming in and where it's going out. And in your mind, you develop a flow net. Having drawn flow nets on paper will help you a lot in making that doing that process.
I totally agree. Totally agree. When you have a good understanding of the conceptual model and the graphical flow nets are probably the best tool you can have to develop this necessary skill for a hydrogeologist. Correct?
Yes, I agree.
Very, very good. So I have these questions for you. The book is going to be there, and it's completely for free. People can go there and download, right? So is it possible for me to suggest to any professor to go there and adopt the book themselves if they want to?
Yeah, yes, we hope that professors will go and adopt the book. There are some professors that have started using it for this fall semester, and we're excited about that. We hope lots more will. Just work the Groundwater Project books into their syllabus.
Perfect. Are there any strings attached to the professor to use that, or just can use and it's perfectly free for them to use the exercise with the students? Any problems with that? No.
No strings attached. They just put it in the syllabus, the web link, and have the students go to that web link and download the book.
That's very good. That's very good. So what about I have some questions. You made some illustrations there, and you have some internal links and external links. Where do the external links send us to when we're reading the book and we click? Because this is an electronic book, we can click and be sent to somewhere else. What about the external links?
I believe a number of the external links are to YouTube videos where the reader can see some wonderful experiments that Eileen set up using sand models with dye tracing, so that you can visually see the development of flow lines. And Eileen, why don't you say a little bit more about those videos?
Yeah, as you say, there's a sand tank. There's also some Hsieh models where flow lines are visualized. There's a video that shows how to pick up the pencil and start sketching the flow net, which is a bit of a trial and error process. So you draw, you erase, you draw, you erase. And I wanted people to understand that that's how it is. You don't usually get the right flow net right away. And there's a video of Paul showing you how to work through the Topo Drive software and how it functions.
Yeah, so we want as much visual and audio component that we can add into the book. So these links are to videos that provide that experience also.
That's very good. I can witness that because I've checked the videos and the links. They're wonderful, because when you're studying, well, we talk about flow nets, and it's, as you said, the visualizations are just wonderful because it's a click away. You go there and you see how it works, and it's well explained because it has sound on it as well. Eileen explains the steps, right? so we can see them all. This is very good. And then we have some exercises for us to fix the concept. That's very, very good, very good. So how did you manage to get all those videos, Eileen, and you, Paul? Your videos, they're very good.
I just record them on the phone, or some of them I record on the computer. For example, Paul, when he did his Topo Drive software, he turned on the computer and worked through the software and spoke as he did it. So it's a simple process to generate.
It looks simple because, but when because you practiced many times before you knew exactly what was going on, right? Because that's
yeah. I hear there's software now where if you even make a small mistake, like you say, you can back up and continue from there. So now next time I will use that.
Yeah, we have wonderful tools so that people, almost everyone, can produce videos that can be shared with other people. So, both the technology and the internet has really democratized knowledge, and the Groundwater Project wants to build on top of that.
That's very true. So, guys, your book it's a very practical book. I've seen it. I read it all. It's very good. I highly recommend. So, would you like to say something else for someone who's willing to play around, or he's starting working? When does he need your book? Does he has to go through the full course or through the course? When does he use his book, this book for learning, as a learning tool?
I think it's a good idea to read a little bit of background about groundwater before you jump into the Constructing Flow Nets book. We have a book called Groundwater in Our Water Cycle. It gives a qualitative discussion of all aspects of groundwater. And we have a book about the basics, the hydrogeologic properties of earth materials and the principles of groundwater flow. So reading some of that first would, I think, be a good idea.
Just to mention, these two books that Eileen just mentioned are also free for download, right, on our website, the Groundwater Project. So you can get both books. It's free. There's nothing to lose about that. Just go there, download, and take a look, right? And you can get that. What about you, Paul? What do you suggest for people who wants to use their book?
Well, I agree that there's some fundamental concepts that the reader should have some knowledge of. For example, hydraulic head, hydraulic conductivity. Although the book provides a relatively short summary of these concepts, understanding them in depth, again, really helps the understanding of groundwater. So, for example, the concept of hydraulic head, you can just think of it as the height of the water level in a piezometer or well that measures the hydraulic head at a certain point. But as was pointed out in the classic book Groundwater by Hsieh and Cherry, just understanding hydraulic head at that level is similar to thinking of temperature as the height of a mercury column in a thermometer. There is a deeper understanding for temperature. It measures the heat energy at a certain point. And for groundwater, hydraulic head also is a measure of the mechanical energy per unit weight of water at a certain point. So understanding those concepts at a deeper level helps you really solidify the understanding of groundwater. So we can't provide all those, depth in our book. We provide kind of a summary to get you started, but it's kind of an iterative process where you learn something first at a superficial level, and then you come back and learn it again, and you're understanding it at a deeper level. So that's how I would suggest learning. It's not just once, it's several times, and every time you redo it, you understand something more.
I'm suspect. I can listen to you both speaking about groundwater for days in a row here, because I love the subject, and you understand the subject in depth. It's so good. Guys, but we have to wrap up here. would you like to say your final statement, please, to the people who are willing to download the book, and about the Groundwater Project as well, because you're working so hard for the project as well.
And thinking about what Paul said just a moment ago about going back and learning things at a deeper level, it made me think of the fact that it seems like the time I learn things the best is when I try to teach them to someone else. So perhaps some of the folks that download the book could then share it with others and talk about it and help them understand. And then in that process, they will learn more about groundwater than they knew when they just read the book.
Very true, very true. Paul?
Well, for me, groundwater is a fascinating subject. It relates to so many things on Earth. And understanding how to draw flow nets is one of the entry points that you have to go through if you want to get a deep understanding of groundwater. Okay,
thank you very much, you both. You did a wonderful job, and I'm pretty sure your book's going to be a wide success. Everybody will love it when they learn to use, when they get to know the book. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.